I've had this Xbox Series S controller for a little over a year, and the thumbstick has started drifting, it gets stuck sometimes, and it's not registering when I press up, which, as you can imagine, is very annoying, so let's see if we can fix this. The first thing you want to try is blow some compressed air in there and clean it with alcohol and a cotton swab. This may loosen up any debris or anything sticking that would cause the thumbstick not to work. I'm using an air gun and a compressor, but you can use the stuff from a can. Then we're going to use 91% alcohol because it evaporates quicker than water. Now you do want your cotton swab damp, but you do not want it dripping, so make sure you wipe off any excess before you start. Make sure you get every single area on this thumbstick, maybe even go over it 2 or 3 times, because if there's something sticky on there, it will be hard to get off. Now I've had this same issue in the past, and just this quick, easy step did fix it. But what you want to do is once you get done with this, go ahead and blow it off, and then go test it out and see if it fixed it. If not, then we got to go on to fix number 2. Before we move on to step number 2, it will void the warranty, so go ahead and check and see when you bought it. I bought mine 14 months ago. It's only warranted for 1 year, so I'm okay to go ahead and carry on. Fix number 2 does require us to open the controller and clean the insides. Now I sped this up, but I wanted to leave it in to show you that it does, or it can take a little while to get into it. I finally figured it out, and one of the tips I would give is you want to start at the top or the bottom corner and start prying it open, and eventually you'll get it. I was a little bit worried I was going to break something, but these things are pretty sturdy. I wouldn't really worry about that. Alright, and we're finally in there, and I did have a similar issue with the other one, just trying to catch that corner and get it pried open. Didn't take me as long, but I won't show all that. I'll go ahead and show you getting right in there. And as you can see here, I started at the top corner instead of the bottom. Now I'm using pieces from a auto trim toolkit. They are plastic, and I think that's key. You don't want to use a screwdriver or something metal, or you will damage your plastic on your controller. But there are other tools, as I'll link above, that you can use for small electronics like this. This controller is held together by 5 torx screws. Mine were T8s. However, these screws are not standard screws. They are actually T8 security screws, torx security screws, which looks like this. And they've got a pin in the middle, which means you can't use your normal torx bits. It's a little bit shady on the part of the manufacturer. They don't want you getting in here to making any fixes. But there is a trick to this. You can use a little tiny screwdriver that you would use like with eyewear and get right beside the pin and be able to make the turn. In my case, when I tried that, the pin broke out. So I was actually able to use my torx bit to get these out in some cases. There was a couple that was a little bit more stubborn, and I actually had to use the screwdriver method. Now here's another one where the pin broke out, so I was able to use my torx screwdriver, but this next one was very stubborn. The pin would not break, and I could not, with my 2 fingers, turn that screw. As you can tell, the screwdriver is very small, so you got to turn it with 2 fingers. This is a little trick here. If you get you a pair of pliers, you can get a lot more torque behind it, a lot more pressure. As you can tell here, I broke the pin out at that time, and I was able to use the torx bit. Now the final screw is located behind this label, so you got to kind of poke around until you find it and then clear the label out. That way you can get access to it, and then same process as the other 4. Now once you get all 5 screws out, the front just lifts right off and you get access to the insides. The back will pull off just as easy. But one thing you want to do is go ahead and take a look around to see if you find any debris or anything obvious that may be catching that thumbstick. And these pull right off. They're really easy. Now I'm going to shine a light here just to see if I can see anything in there that looks obvious. I did find a hair in there. Something that small right there, that hair, could have been causing that issue. So go ahead and get you a brush and go ahead and clean all around. Then we're going to clean it with the alcohol and the cotton swab and see if we can get this thing working. Now, if you can't find a small little brush like this, go ahead and use a toothbrush, either an old toothbrush or one that's been clean. It'll work just as good. That's what I was going to use, but then I remembered I have a electric razor kit that has a little brush in it that I never use. Now we'll clean it with a little alcohol and a cotton swab. Make sure it's only damp, make sure it's not dripping. And one thing to watch out for here, there's a lot of little nooks and crannies. Don't get the cotton swab stuck so that it pulls out all the fibers and leaves that in there, because that could cause a bigger problem than originally. So just be careful with that. I ended up changing Q-tips a couple times, so keep that in mind. Now, when you take this back side off, you do get access to the back of that thumbstick. Go ahead and clean that off really well, just like you did the front. And I'll go ahead and mention here, while I was in there, I did go ahead and clean the other thumbstick. It wasn't giving me any issues, but while I'm in there, might as well go ahead. So I was giving it one final dusting and ended up finding a hair. So it was kind of like the final inspection part. Found the hair, went ahead and double checked, make sure there was no other hairs. Now it's time to put the thumbsticks back on and reassemble this unit. Now it's time to reassemble everything just like we took it off. We got the 5 screws, and thankfully they're all T8, so we're not going to have any issues with wrong sizes going in the wrong holes. Hey, thanks for stopping by. If this video helped you, please consider hitting the like button and think about subscribing. I've got random videos like this, mostly home improvement, but hey, everybody plays Xbox, right?